Chapter 4. Quiet, please. Bradley walked into the library to find solace and peace. I walk in to rethink what I could possibly do beyond my physical acumen. Bradley was again thinking out loud to himself. To read more and acquire knowledge. To explore possibilities. To find the rest of the faculty having a meeting here? Bradley saw the teachers all sitting on a round table as if they were knights ready to battle the insubordination of today's youth. Principal Arthur King and his vice Miss Still, the bold Daria Jules, Emily Baker, quick character bio, a complete opposite of Daria. Emily wears a conservative piece of clothing. She is a blonde, curly-haired, and always sported a friendly smile on her face, bringing out her sky-bright blue eyes. Her presence was ever so serene and calm. She loves teaching and treated her students as her own children. Fun fact, she is currently smitten with the school's coach and PE teacher, Brian Gazelle. Another teacher, the not-so-pleasant Howard Saunderson, was also present. Another quick character bio. Because I am lazy to keep extrapolating expositions for origin arcs behind every character. Like, duh, that's what you get for writing a high school epic like this one. Okay, enough self-glorification. Let us get back to the story. I had to at least use a fourth wall breaking device on several occasions, so please spare me. Omar out. Mr. Saunderson is a math teacher, but the problem is not there. It is the narrow-mindedness he has towards minorities. He has won several awards for being the worst teacher ever for the past 5 years of his employment at Eagle High, according to an online student poll. He's very fond of Bradley, as he looks at him as the measuring stick that represents what a perfect student should be. Difficult to understand, just like what he teaches. Bradley hates it how this teacher, along the others, look at him as some sort of messiah to the school's future. As if Bradley was some spoke in the wheel of this corporate-like machine in which some of these teachers enjoy investing their time and energy on. The only rare exceptions are Emily Baker and Brian Gazelle. The librarian Andrew Carpenter would also be considered one of those kind-hearted exceptions. However, he could also be an obsessive-compulsive old man at times. Despite being a disciplined freak, he sure loves to welcome his students to the library. He has such a fatherly presence. At 6'4" and a well-built frame for a 52-year-old man, he fixes his glasses every time a student walks in the library. He tilts his head downwards to get a better view, whilst he peers over his spectacles and smiles. He nodded to say, "Welcome to the library, Bradley. Would you like to check in and borrow a book?" "No thanks, Mr. C," Bradley said as his attention was still glued to the faculty. "I just wanted to finish my homework here." Very smart strategy," Mr. Carpenter replied in a friendly tone. "Getting all the schoolwork done here so you can go chill and kick it later? Is that how you kids say it? You know, to chillax? You kids are about to chill or kick it, ha ha ha." A short pause followed as Bradley then veered his attention to Mr. Carpenter. Never mind," Mr. Carpenter complained. "I am a dinosaur anyways. What do I know of what you youngsters say nowadays?" "Don't sweat it, Mr. C," Bradley comforted him. "You don't have to be hip to hop nowadays, as long as your hip don't pop or break in the process. You sure know how to make an old folk feel like a young man again, lad." Mr. Carpenter chuckled a bit. "Yeah. Then OG like you can handle it for real." Bradley also chuckled. "OG?" Mr. Carpenter looked puzzled. "Yeah," Bradley said all confident. "As an original gangster, you know, old school." "Are you calling me a criminal, boy?" Mr. Carpenter whispered loudly, as he was annoyed. "And yeah, you are right. I am old school. But you know what else is old school? An old school strap on your behind. Now get." Bradley slowly backed himself up to one of the study compartments with his hands up. Gangster. Ha! Scoffed Mr. Carpenter. I ain't no gangster. Bradley could not help but overhear what the faculty on the round table were saying as he snuck behind a few students. He randomly grabbed a Resident Evil novel and then covered his face with it. I believe the school brand needs a revamp in regards to the public relations aspect, voiced out Susan Still. More participation on his part is needed. How about more appearances and ambassador work on behalf of the school? Would you agree on such a recommendation? I agree, confirmed Mr. Saunderson. You can't have our school champion take a backseat to the school presidents in regards to being vocal. No offense to our beloved dynamic duo, but I think some of the spotlight should be shared for a potential future commissioner for any student body at any university. I also think he should be more involved in pep rallies more often. Besides the sports related events and extracurricular activities, since it is something in which he has vast knowledge of. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. and Miss Kenneth? Precisely, Damien answered smoothly. 100%, oh for sure. No question about it. Like hells yeah, Dorothy replied enthusiastically as she jumped out of the chair with joy. Quiet, please, Mr. Carpenter snapped in a loud whisper. Dorothy's face filled with zeal, got concealed a bit. The rest of the faculty stared at her for about half a minute. Sorry, Dorothy replied all mousy. I think we should not pressure him to do something against his will. The sweet motherly voice of Emily Baker spoke fluently. We have to ask for his opinion about this. After all, consent is crucial in our school, remember? Well, that is within our reach, as he is sitting just a foot from us, Damien answered with his velvety voice. Bradley, if you may join our conversation, please. The smug co-president of the school said this while tapping on his chin with his arms folded. Bradley's back stiffened. He swiveled slowly in his chair, adjusting his posture. The massive athlete gave a disarming look that was so intense he could hopefully intimidate the cockiness out of the 6'4" and 160-pound framed narcissist. Damien Kenneth really thinks highly of himself. Wearing a polo collar shirt and some elegant-looking pants, Damien crosses his legs, exposing his nicely polished and shined pair of Madras boot shoes, accommodating some Argyle socks. He then put his hands behind his freshly buzzed head, staring into space with his dark, cold, black eyes as he withheld a crooked smile. The same smile that won the hearts of hundreds because it was well composed on his square tan jaw. His perfect teeth shined through and through. He does represent the school very well. The preppy president opened his mouth and smugly said, As much as I hate to admit it, Bradley Terrence is in a great position to become the ambassador of the Atlanta region for years to come. Oh, 100% for sure, replied the quirky cousin Dorothy loudly. Quiet, please, barked an aggravated Mr. Carpenter. Oh, shoot, sorry. Dorothy covered her mouth with her hands. With her petite and healthy physique, she managed to eagerly lean and balance herself on the table, her sight transfixed on Bradley, while she had her hands curling into a ball that was situated firmly against her smooth heart-shaped face. Her big wide eyes batted, while looking all innocent. They were as black as Damien's, yet they had some warmth in them. They were unlike her cousin's callous pupils that looked like cold and dark tunnels. She was rocking a pink t-shirt that had Hello Kitty on it. The tight Lululemon's yoga pants she had on were black. Dorothy was a fashionable type of individual, her small buttoned nose scrunched as she scratched behind one of her small ears. She then twirled with her pigtails while chewing on her gum in such an annoying fashion. The 5'4", 115-pound girl followed the latest trends of clothes and accessories. Her style was supposed to be bubbly and cute to match her self-perceived personality. Mr. Carpenter was now giving her a death stare as she did this. Dorothy then blushed, took the gum out of her mouth, and slowly sat back with her arms crossed. She then stared admirably at Damien. "No question about it, cuzzo," Dorothy said in a lower voice. "Spoken like a true boss, dame." "Aha," remarked Arthur King as he chuckled with discomfort. "Bradley Terrence." Damien took over the conversation with a stern look as he steered away from Dorothy's bizarre demeanor. "We understand you have some issues with public speaking, a speech impediment, I believe, since you have a large underbite, and you fumble over your words a lot of times. We are very aware of how much of a shy student you are, but we are just, oh, how do I put it, curious about your opinion on doing a few pep rallies with us." Damien had a smile that did not look authentic or normal for that matter. Something oozes about this individual that makes Bradley uncomfortable. Dorothy looked on. She then leaned forward again with her hand still on the table as she was on the edge of her seat awaiting a reply. It was like this girl could not sit still for a second. The staff were also waiting for an answer. Bradley simply stood up from his chair and sighed, as if he wanted to set the record straight once and for all. He looked straight in Damien's cold and calculating eyes. "So let me get this straight," Bradley said in a low voice. "You want me to stand up in front of the entire school and talk? It would be cool and all, but this seems like sort of a pageantry. Knowing myself, I might mess it up big time. Sorry, guys, I appreciate the offer of looking pretty and showing off like Miss America, but I can't do it. I just..." Bradley trailed off, then gestured with his fists as if he couldn't complete his thoughts. The frustrated athlete looked at every single one of their eyes. He then scowled and looked at the ground. Bradley Terrence shook his head and sighed, feeling nothing but emptiness within his soul. He then slowly walked away, feeling glum, still wondering of what to do next. Conflicted. Guilt started to fester within him, yet he was determined to decline the offer. The faculty and the co-presidents all sat there looking after him, hoping he might change his mind the moment he would walk out that library door. But he didn't. Bradley headed home.